The energy suck for most high achievers isn't that they're not getting enough cardio. It's that they've been carrying 30 pounds of armor since 6 a.m. and they don't even realize they put it on. You've been told you need better time management, better habits, a better morning routine. But what if the real energy leak is something that you put on before you even leave the house? Something that's been draining you long before you hit the gym or to skip it. Stay with me because we're going to get into why your nervous system is basically a security system, what a fitness identity is, and why yours might be keeping you stuck. And the surprising thing that finally moved the needle for me after years of doing all the right things. Hey, y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil. Welcome back to the Life Management System, the show built for working moms who are doing all the things, but still feel behind. Here we trade burnout for boundaries and survival mode for something that actually feels like a life. Inside this episode, I'm welcoming Daffney Allwein. Daffney's a performance coach, exercise physiologist, and host of the Don't Fucking Drink podcast, helping hardworking, driven professionals take a more effective, whole person approach to health and performance. Building on her 20 years of experience, Daffney is working to close a critical gap in women's health by offering clients something beyond traditional therapy or personal training. She is offering instead a whole body approach designed to optimize performance, health, and well-being in work and life. So given that this audience is mostly predominantly high achieving moms, I know you all have lofty performance goals, so I thought it would be very apropos and a unique advantage point to bring Daffney to you. So, Daffney, welcome to the Life Management System.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, okay. So, I think it's going to be like the context of who you are and your story is going to be really important for the backdrop of this conversation. So, can we start with more of your origin story and how you became a performance coach? I think that background will help.
I started as a small girl and with a dream and a hope. No. So I have always been a athlete my entire life. And I think that's really shaped a lot of my mindset and how I see things. But like you, and we had this little talk too, sports were important, but they weren't about defining, one sport over the other. It was about this collective of skills, right? And just realizing that that collective of skills is really what built confidence versus, being really great at one thing. So when it comes to performance coaching or advising, as I like to call it too, is that it is about skill building. It's about recognizing the environment that you're in and where your gaps are with skills. And sometimes that's physical skills, right? That's actually, looking at the anatomy, looking at the body. Is this muscle more prime or producing than the other? Is your posture off? And then we dig into other things where your mindset is really an important piece. If you're an athlete, you're kind of already walking into the world or walking into the working space. Most of our CEO women are former athletes for that reason, I think a lot of times. And just knowing the mastery of that and looking at things differently, a different vantage point of moving forward. Systems or your strong set, as
Mhm.
you know. And then the third piece is in performance coaching, and this is something I had to develop both as a entrepreneur, as a practitioner, and also as a mom. I'm an older new mom. The skill set is with the central nervous system. I think that's a piece a lot of us are missing, but I am coaching really dynamically on is our central nervous system, our body. We have this nervous system that is actually a security system in our body and lets us know when things are off in our environment or in our physical body or in the way we're sort of conducting or relating to our experiences. So, performance coaching is really important to me, especially with the population I work with. These, high stakes, like fast moving, high producing type A folks. Performance is really important because it's not just one element. It's not about how many push ups you can do and show up with your ego. It's about longevity. And I feel like, especially with women, that's a piece we're missing. It's not about going hard and fast, it's about that endurance piece. So that's where performance comes in.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody else did the same thing. Daphne, when I heard you talk and you said something about posture, I was like sitting bolt straighter now. Like you got in my head, and I'm sure everybody else kind of probably unintentionally did the same thing, where subliminally they're like, "Ooh,
Mm,
I call what I heard you say, shoulder back energy, ironically. So I
Oh,
used
yeah.
to I told, there are a couple of my clients I'd work with this on, including my house manager. Priya, I love you if you're listening to this. I'm like, y'all, I want you to have shoulder back energy. I want you
Mm,
to feel so confident and have so much swagger that you carry yourself at a whole other level.
yeah.
And I think if I was to summarize like what it is that you're doing, like you are teaching people, you have bottled up how to create shoulder back energy for people in a very like in a very sustainable way.
Yes. Yeah. Sustainability is key.
Yeah. So when you say you're a performance coach, Daphne, how much of that is physical versus just like purely the way someone is showing up for themselves? Is it more in the physical space, or is it really just the marriage of the nervous system and the physical and the way that they continue to up level?
I always say you can't have one without the other.
Okay.
So it's how you show up in the world. We think that if we put on a designer label, if we wear a designer bag, if we show up with a certain attitude, that somehow we are tricking the system and making people think that we are healthy and productive, or whatever the word is that we want to use, right? But the truth is, our body doesn't lie, right? Our nervous system doesn't lie. Even if I show up to a boardroom and I am nervous as hell, right? And I just put on my costume, I put on my armor and I show up, that's only going to take me so far, right? That's exhausting. One of the biggest issues I have with clients is they start their day, when we start working together, one of the things we unpack is starting the day with armor. So we're walking into our day expecting problems, right? Or actually like starting the day with, who are we taking on? Those sort of things. Um, Costuming, right? Putting on this persona as opposed to showing up as ourselves. And a lot of times the energy suck that my clients have isn't not getting enough cardio in during the day. It's realizing that they've been carrying around 30 pounds of armor since 6 a.m. So it is such an energy suck. It is such a misuse of that energy when we could be using it for something more and performing better, showing up more authentically. I know you said shoulder back energy. I agree with that. I also say heart led, which is the exact same posture when you
Yeah.
think about it, right? If you have the confidence to lead with your heart, with your own truth, it looks like shoulder back energy. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You are showing up and you're not performing, you're showing up. And that's the
Yeah.
difference. That is the big difference.
I love that. So there's an episode that I will link here. It's episode 73, around why managing your energy matters more than managing your time. I
Amen.
think so many people focus on time management, and that is an absolute misnomer. If I promise, if you're managing your energy, everything is going to lock into place. But
Mhm.
oftentimes when you think about when you're at your best versus when you're at your worst, we're at our best when we're locked and loaded and we're paying, like our attention's focused and we're just firing from all cylinders. Whereas when you're at your worst and you're not fully engaged, you're not owning whatever it is that you're trying to get done. That's when we end up having to repeat ourselves, and everything takes so much longer. So I think a lot of people tune in here because they want time management hacks, and it is just as much about energy management. And Daphne, I think that you are very focused on that. So,
Yeah.
can we double click on that for a little
Yeah.
bit to particularly around when you think about the best ways somebody can manage their energy, from a physical perspective, what comes to mind and why do you think it's so important?
Yeah, I'm still loving. I'm glad we got to share these sister episodes together, because this double click is such a great way to integrate and think about it. Like, why is it? So, in focusing that, when I talk to a client who's having a particular issue in the boardroom, or particular issue in relationships, that is an awesome time to double click and for me to ask more questions as a coach, because what we're not recognizing sometimes is there are themes in all the relationships, in all the sequences, in all the situations that happen in our life. So if we're noticing that we're having a similar conversation, similar conflict, similar roadblock in different areas of our life, the double click is where we get the most focus, or we get the most momentum. Is if you constantly have the same boss, even though you move jobs, right? If you're having the same issues in a relationship, in a personal relationship, every single time, and you're not recognizing what position or what place you're playing in this, that's the double click. That is the thing that we need to get into, because it's like anything. If we're set to learn a skill, if we're set to move forward in our life, and we're not actually looking at the patterns that we're creating or the obstacles that we're ignoring, because a lot of times it is ignoring because it's uncomfortable to do and learn new things. I love being that person who can hold the hand, ask the hard question, and say, all right, we had the same conversation the last 2 weeks, and now it's two different people. It's two different situations. It's the same. Can you see that this is the same conversation? And by managing and building that skill and building that awareness, and sometimes, and saying, oh, if I just treat it like this, as a skill building, as something I can reverse and look at and grow from, this is where we gain so much, because it's like we level up in that moment. Even the awareness, as you know, is a level up, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, this is how I've been participating. This is how I've been participating in this, and losing energy and losing my focus, my value, not putting the investment of time where it really should be going.
I think the awareness is key to more than people often give it credit for with everything. So just today I was having a client conversation and I was like, I want you to be able to say out loud what this problem is. Because if you can't clarify that for yourself, you can never fix it.
Mm,
Like you know that you're swimming around something that doesn't feel good. But until you can actually name something and put words to it, you'll never be able to fix it. But the same exists with goals. If you can't articulate what that thing is,
yeah.
you're never going to be able to get there. You might swim closer to it,
Hmm.
but you're never going to get that target because you can't, like, you just, it's so, the words are so important. The awareness is so important. So Daphne, how much do you believe as it relates to energy management, particularly in the workplace? How important do you believe fitness is to that general performance and capability versus, I don't know, I guess, maybe it's not fitness, maybe it's movement, maybe it's like true investment in someone's health. I don't know how you characterize it, but would love to get your read on the relationship between someone's wellness and performance.
Yeah, I think it starts with, like you said, the definition, right? Like, what is fitness? What is health? What is wellness? Because I think when we're speaking from a place of wanting to optimize our experience as a human being, to optimize our longevity, or optimize our performance, so energy wise, right? I think when we look at fitness and we say, what does fitness mean to you? Or what is health? I know we talked about, are you really hoping to be 100 one day, still running, you know, marathons or doing triathlons? Like, what is your definition? What's your identity? What is your fitness identity? I think that's sometimes an even bigger question with clients, because fitness can be, right, or health can be a healthy nervous system. It can be a healthy community. It can be a lot of things. So when I say fitness, fitness is really physical in my mind. When we say fitness, I assume that we're talking physically about the physical body. So we can always speak, and science has always backed us on this one, that the more we are willing to push the body in a productive, thoughtful way, and I'm not talking like going to one of those trending gyms where they push you so hard you get rhabdo once a week, right? I'm talking about thoughtful, intentional muscle growth, cardiovascular benefits. So yeah, I would say if you are serious about the longevity of your life, about having a healthy dynamic, and just being functional overall, fitness has to be a priority. Physical health has to be a priority.
Okay, so I think that you're probably gonna have a lot of listeners who'll be like, well, that makes sense. And that feels really ambitious for me right now. Like
Mm,
I cannot, like I am in the thick of like really young kids. responsibilities at work are just growing astronomically. I would love to be able to find my, like, think about my fitness identity, let alone create time to actually make that happen. What then? Like, what would you tell that mom who can't even figure out a way to, she can't find 2 minutes to go to the bathroom alone, let alone the ability to think about her fitness identity?
I have a 17-month-old, so I can totally relate to not using the bathroom on my own ever. But I think this is the question. It is the definition, kind of like I said, what is your definition? And for somebody, myself, who has always been physically fit, always been athletic, I spent a 6-year period, or yeah, 6-year period, including COVID, having just short of 6 surgeries, none which I had planned for. So I love that you asked that question because I get that a lot from clients. So they're like, listen, you've always been physically fit. This has always been part of your life. This is, and that's why it's so easy for you. And I was like, well, there were many chapters in those 6 surgeries. I didn't plan a single one of them. That walking and just getting myself outside for 20 minutes, which we know is such a positive benefit for your cardiovascular, for your mental health, for all things related to your health. So when it comes down to what the definition is, it is going to look different every day. And I mean in the context there, if you had the 6 years I had in that group and you went from being a Boston elite marathoner to struggling to walk 20 minutes because of, postpartum, whatever the case may be, you have to celebrate your body in the chapter you're in. You have to acknowledge what's going on in your life. And success doesn't look the same. And I will tell you that coming all the way back from all those things I had not planned, today, running 5 miles, running 6 miles feels pretty damn good right now.
Yeah.
To go from that level to just having the body that is able to do 5, 6 miles at a time now is a gift. So yeah, it's not about proving myself to anyone else in this third chapter of my marriage with running. It is literally just celebrating the body I'm in. So like you said, when it comes to priorities, it's got to be something that you prioritize out of the gate. And if that means 20 minutes with a stroller, if that means 20 minutes because you asked your neighbor to come over, for you to walk around the block, then that's what it is, and that's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate the, anything is better than nothing, but so often if something's not perfect, it's easy to discount doing it. And that's what I told one of my clients today. I said, I would be elated if you did 20 minutes of stroller walking. Like, you both win. You both get outside. Nature's so good for our nervous system,
Yes.
and it's quality time for you to spend with your daughter, but it's also just really, I mean, it will do such good things for your mental health as much as it will your physical. But I want to go back to the fitness identity part too, because I
Sure.
think that that's very important. I have one client that I worked with for about a year. She just rolled off my team, but man, she didn't care about a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that I care about or you might care about. And I can appreciate that too. But I think that what I hear you saying through everything is fitness to some degree, way, shape, or form helps enable the sustainability of and the longevity of the way we do life. But the fitness identity can help you reset the way that you think about engaging
Yeah.
with investing in your well-being. Can you give examples of what different types of fitness identities might be and how they would show up for people at different stages of their life?
Yeah, and our early years really do shape that sort of thing, and it's generational. So I've definitely bounced into a few women who are from the boomer generation who saw exercise or a fitness identity where they were lifting weights as something that made them less valuable as a woman. You may have heard that, or maybe your listeners have mentioned, or maybe even that they've noticed it in the generation before them or their parents, is fitness identity was something that was for women pre-Title IX. That's not something that would have been attractive to outside sources, right? So when I say fitness identity, people generally fall into two camps. If they are minded in exercise, or if they have any experience in exercise. And that comes into two camps. You are a solo exerciser. You are self-motivated. You like to do things on your own. You like to build your body, build your strength in one category, or I'm sorry, in many categories, but on a one-to-one basis, right? And sometimes that helps when you have a trainer in that case too. So that is very custom tailored. And some people get all of their energy or their fitness identity from working with a group. And that means competition. That means having a social network based around that fitness. And that works better for some people too. Some people are a combination of either. So understanding what psychologically works better or will motivate people really lends itself to helping people design effectively that identity.
Yeah. Well, also, I think one thing that I want to call out for people is while I mean, to me, I love a trainer. She pushes me, she helps me be at my best. She's also a form of accountability, and group programs often do for people, for people as well. But at this stage in life, if the movement that you get is gardening or the movement you get is stroller pushing,
Yes.
let let that happen. Let that
Hmm.
happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That movement being the big priority. So I have found lately, I've been trying to drop the same freaking 10 pounds since my youngest was born, and he is now 9. And as a case study, I mean, I have been very, very, very diligent with my diet, and I've been working out in the gym and like throwing up weights and stuff for years, and nothing's moving the needle for me. But you know what? When I finally started getting out and walking every day, like a hard 3 mile walk, all of a sudden I had dropped 6 pounds. So it is also a testament that
Yep.
not, and I don't mean for that to pressure anybody that's listening, but to me, it was just a testament over what movement can do for us.
Yep.
And like movement for my house manager, she's like, anytime I leave your house, I get 18,000 steps.
Yeah.
So movement for her is like up and down the steps with laundry baskets. Like it doesn't have to be the same thing for all of us. It's more about just where we are at our stage in life, but movement makes a big difference.
And cross training, like you said, you can be doing one exercise for a fair amount of time with varied intensities. But when you begin cross training and training your body in different ways or challenging your body in different ways, there's also a lot of benefits that can come
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Daphne, can you help us understand like what does performance coaching really look like, and what would working with you look like for people?
Yeah, it looks like fun. I giggle with that. It's one of those things where when I meet you, there is a really specific question and series of questions that we really get into in a way that I need to know what is your motivation? What is your value? What is your why or your reason for moving forward? So a lot of times people don't give a lot of thought to that. They just sort of like you said, I need to lose another 10 pounds. I've got this coming up and that sort of thing. And it gives me an opportunity to really sit and understand the person in their movement, in what sort of motivates them. So working together is a really cool process. And I usually do things in 8 to 12 weeks when it comes to this work, but it is physical. We do a lot of physical movement, and my background is physical therapy. So it is very intentional about your body and how we move you forward and helping you understand how your body moves, right? It is a lot of teaching you about your body because we're building a library. When we do these movements together, we are building a library for your body, for what works best for your body that's going to create that longevity and then continue to challenge it over time. So there is a big physical proponent in what we're doing. And the second piece is those really big conversations. Sometimes we do them while we're working out because turns out movement and conversation sometimes move the needle faster and forward. And sometimes it does. Sometimes it is a sit down with clients to really work into those deep goals because you and I talked about this. Often we come in with one goal, recognizing that is not really where we want to land, but we've been distracted for so long on focusing on our physical appearance or our basic energy during the day that we haven't had the ability to really, like you said, double click. So this is a really big double clicking opportunity when we work together. And what I love is so many clients come in at a crossroads in their life or a fork, or something just isn't working, something isn't changing. And those 12 weeks are just this magical experience of moving from A to B and just having this sort of graduation. A lot of times in my case, my clients don't leave. I work for that. I work with them for years and sometimes decades into the future because we get such movement and we finally break through some of those things that have really been holding back, that it just is like, what's the next challenge? What's the next challenge? And continue to move our body and ourselves forward.
Yeah, well, I imagine you're also creating momentum for people too. The hardest part is getting that ball started, and once the ball
Yes.
starts to roll, then the ball will roll. But thank you. Just helping people get over that hump is probably very impactful. So, okay, I will include all of the ways to contact Daphne in the show notes. But Daphne, before we drop, I need to know your answers to the lightning round questions.
Ooh.
First, what is your go-to stress busting activity?
In our house, it's Legos.
Oh,
It is something that at least the 5-year-old is really engaged. If we pick something thematic, like we happen to be Harry Potter fans, that thematically we're working together and it's a group activity and it's also skill building. And then for me personally, my husband loves a nice new recipe. I am the chopper. I have the knife skills person. As you know, like when you're working with a knife, you can't be thinking about all the other things that are distracting you or stressing you out. You need to be there with all your fingers intact. So I would say I love playing sous chef, and the Legos are so much fun in our
I
family.
can see that being very therapeutic, like the
It is.
chopping. It's
Yes.
not for me. It's just, but I could see that being very therapeutic. Okay, what's the last book or podcast you loved?
So I am so lucky this summer. I'm actually doing a podcast tour where I'm visiting podcasts other than my own and getting to really deep dive into some of these really cool podcasts I didn't even know about before. So I would say I am learning a lot about other podcasts and sprinkling in there and different topics too. But ultimately, if I can find a good travel series documentary, that's always my thing. Every time someone sends a new location that I need to travel to, I get locked in on a book or a docu-series about it.
I get that. My travel definitely is planned for the next 10 years. So
Count me
like
in. Count me in.
I'm
Let me know
just
where you're going. Yes.
obsessed. Okay, last but not least, if you could wave a magic wand, what task would you eliminate forever?
I the Jetsons lied to us, right? So there is this vortex, I'm sure you have it too in your house, where the clothing gets to the dryer and then this energy vortex where it can't make its way back to the drawer, right? Like somebody has to fold it, somebody has to organize it, take it back to the drawer. That never happens in our house. So if I could, God, the Jetsons promised us like all these like simple things, flying cars
The
by
amount of
2000.
time that I
No,
reference the
no,
Jetsons, I
thank you.
love that this is what
Okay.
where you went. That makes me
So
so happy.
so sad. But yes, I whatever that energy vortex is between dryer and back to my drawer, like that would be the skill that I wouldn't need to ever do again.
Yeah, that is one of my clients. I
Mm.
don't take many one-on-ones, but executive levels, I do one-on-ones.
Yeah.
And that is the number one thing we are trying to solve for in her house right now. I get it. I totally get it. Well, Daphne, thank you for joining us in the life management system. Friends, thanks again for tuning in. And most of us don't need more productivity hacks. We need to better protect our time and energy. That is how, what leads us to those places of higher performance. It is hard to do that though if you are leaking your boundaries. So, I have a free self check if you have not taken that. I will link that in the show notes. It is a quick 3-minute quiz to tell you where you're probably leaking most of your energy. But until next time, friends, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama. If this episode hit home, you're going to want to go back and listen to episode 73. It's all about why managing your energy matters more than managing your time. Everything Daphne and I talked about today is the physical side of that coin, and they go together. I'll link it right in the show notes, and I'll see you there.